present are Bill McGowan, Lisa McGonigal, Dan Coughlin, Paul Kearse, and Wayne Sawchuk. And our first piece of business will be scheduling our next meeting, which looks to be the 28th of September, 2 weeks from now.
Mm-hmm.
Does that work all right for everyone?
Yes.
Good.
So we are supposed to be talking to Matt Shannon at this point, and he is not here. And I know that John has to leave in a bit. Who is John Ream? Is he with Lisa?
Hey, it's me. So I'm Carrie Johnson, not John, and I am the builder for Ellie and Sebastian. They're the ones, Smith, I'm sorry. Ellie and Seb Smith. They're the ones that bought the lot on the end that intersects with Howe Road. And so I'm just here for them. And Megan is as well. Megan was their real estate agent. I did email Matt to say, aren't you supposed to be on the sewer commission? And he did respond back that he thought his time was at 10:35 and he's on his way to the office.
Okay, yeah, you know what? I'm actually just looking at the schedule on the agenda, and that was my mistake. I thought it was 10:05, but I put 10:35. Sorry, guys.
All right.
Yeah.
John, I know you've got to leave, but do you want to just briefly discuss some of the things that you've surfaced in the last day or two or three?
Sure. I think what we have now from the building department, we have a building permit application for 9 Diab Lane, which is pretty much all complete. But I do have some questions as far as the buildability of the lot, which I haven't got an answer on yet, and also the accessibility of the right of way. So they might have to go to planning board to get some approval for that off Diab Lane, whether that meets subdivision standards. I do not have a permit application for 3 Diab Lane yet, so I have not been able to review that one. In addition, 15 Diab Lane has submitted a foundation only permit application, but I'm not accepting the foundation only permit. I would need to see the whole building because of the size and whatnot. So that hasn't been completed yet either. And then I do have questions about the buildability. So that's where we're at for those lots.
So,
All right.
So John, can any construction begin based on the fact that no permit has been issued?
No, they need a permit to again start.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
And no construction can be started until they have a permit. And construction, in my opinion,
correct.
So you can't go in and put some silt fence down and say, I started construction.
That wouldn't be
They don't even have a permit.
That wouldn't be considered construction, the silt fence. You know, if they are in front of conservation for the matter too. There, in addition to that, I think the owner of 2 of the properties is on the delinquency list of the town. So I wouldn't be able to issue a permit for that reason too.
Okay.
Can I ask a question for my client, the one on the end, just hearing all of this? So they bought the lot, I think it was the end of May. And so we just designed a house. We have finally house plans, and we're going through our normal process to get the HERS audit and structurals and whatnot to be able to submit, but we're not there yet. We do have, I believe, a current conservation and stormwater approval. So John, just so I am hearing this right, putting silt sock down, that's the commence of construction, or no? It's supposed to be a foundation?
No,
Foundation.
that's not the commence of construction. That's,
Okay.
yep, that's just protection. That doesn't constitute construction.
Okay, all right. Thank you. That was my only question so far.
Okay, John, I know you've got to leave. Do you want to stay on for a while, or we'll take care of,
Matt, do you have any questions? I see that you're on, of John Hanlon, because he does need to leave. Matt, you're on mute.
Could you recap what you said? I understand this was supposed to start at 10:35, so I don't know what was just previously discussed.
So John is saying that no construction permits have been issued, therefore no construction can begin until you receive construction permits.
What about a stormwater permit? We have a
No,
stormwater
that's not a construction permit.
That's a permit to move earth, though.
No, but it still needs to be accompanied by a building permit.
That's a regulation.
Yep, it might be allowed by the conservation, but it has to be viewed by the building department too, to see where the buildings are and the stormwater that it conforms. So no, it's not a construction permit.
Okay, now the stormwater permit is a permit for earth moving beyond 5,000 square feet. So once you get that permit, you're not allowed to move earth now.
It needs to be
construction.
you need that allows you to obtain your building permit.
So we're basically changing how everything's been done at a certain point in time in the recent, let's say from January 1st onward, everything is changing as far as how things are being done in this town. Because as far as what you're saying with the stormwater permit, this is totally different now. Now all of a sudden you can't move earth, you need a building permit. So that doesn't make any sense to me. Is this a new policy of yours, Mr. Is it Hallen?
Hallen, no, it's in the regulations. Say where you need a trench permit if you're digging trenches, which are involved as part of the stormwater permit. So again, you need the permit to continue that, either via building or trench.
So the stormwater permit I have that I read says you have to do certain things before moving earth. It doesn't say anything about getting a building permit or foundation permit or anything. It's a permit to do stuff that alters the stormwater configuration of the land.
Yeah, and I'm saying in order to do that, you need a trench permit and or a building permit.
Well, what are we doing with the trench? If we're starting if we're clearing for a foundation, what are we doing with the trench? I'm not sure where a trench permit comes into this.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, are you digging a trench for the stormwater? That tied to the house, the drains. It goes around the foundation, so it's the stormwater is tied in to the building permit, and you need a building permit to start construction.
So earth clearing and land clearing, you're saying you need a building permit for now?
If you are clearing the land,
Yes.
if you got approval for that, that's it. I'm saying your stormwater permit, in order to activate it, you need a building permit to go along with it because it's connected to the building.
Okay, so what you just said, that's something in the regulations. In order to activate a stormwater permit, you need a building permit. I can go in the regulations somewhere and find that.
I didn't say that. I said your stormwater permit is tied into the building permit.
Correct.
So
It would be the next thing.
Are you working on the building as part of the stormwater permit? So if you are, you need a building permit.
So sequentially, you can't get a stormwater permit, do that part of it, then get a foundation permit, then get a building permit. That's not something that you're saying is doable?
The foundation permit is issued at the discretion. It doesn't mean that you have a right to a foundation only permit. It could be issued or it could not be issued.
Okay, so these are all new things that I understand what the board is trying to do is make these things not usable for me. And
No, don't even
No,
go
no,
there.
wait,
Don't go
oh, wait a
there.
second, wait a second. Well, if we go back and read, why don't we go back a step? And as far as my letter goes and all the information there, everything that I said last time is 100% true, 100% documented. The discussion was start construction. And now we're to a point now where you've got the building inspector here and you're saying, well, we're not going to let you start construction. Well, I put in a foundation.
hold on just a minute.
Sure.
Them having me here has nothing to do with their permanent stuff. This is just the building department side of the issue. There's not a permit issued yet. So that's what we're telling you, and you're aware of that too. So that's the case. There's nothing to do with the sewer department. It's just there's no building permit issued for the work on the site.
Okay, so the foundation permit this should really be a separate discussion that I have with you. I'd rather get back into the issue of start construction, and then maybe Mr. Hallen later on, if I could have a discussion with you, because I did put in for a foundation permit, as you know, and we've been waiting on that, and Andrew Gallagher did as well. So I understand you've been out of town, or there's some issue where you don't believe the lots are buildable. So if this issue is holding up construction, that's something that should be taken into consideration, because I'm just going to tell you you're wrong. They are 3 buildable lots. So that's something that if you're preventing us from beginning construction, then we'll need a further extension from the Sewer Commission.
I'm not preventing you. I'm just looking at the information that I have, and as it stands now, I don't see them as buildable. But again, you could provide me with information that proves me wrong. I'm happy to go along with it, but it's not there yet.
Okay, I will provide that later on today. Now, getting back to the issue of start construction, as I had started to say, I provided you with a letter documenting all of the discussion, the partial transcript of what was said, the letter that was sent to Rod Hoffman that was reviewed, that was okayed. Then on May 4th, I paid $5,100 to the Sewer Commission. And after that, they want to change the position of start construction to connect to a sewer. So that's what I would like to discuss and see where we're at with that.
Who are you addressing right now? Us?
The entire board.
Okay.
Well, first of all, in April, not in May, an agreement was reached, which you agreed to, that put in final writing by your attorney. And
Yep.
that's one thing you did not put with your review of some of the things that you think your case will be heard.
What is that?
And in fact, that was the last extension that we were going to do on what you're doing, because you never met any single one of the conditions or did anything that you said you were going to do. And we got tired, and we don't believe that
Such as what?
this is
Please,
right.
please
That's
enlighten me
story.
as to what I did not do, because I cannot think of one thing. I complied with everything you asked for as far as when to submit stuff, when my attorney was supposed to submit stuff. We met every single deadline. So what you are saying is completely and 100% false. So please, if you are
You did not, you have not started construction yet. And it's
Correct.
unlikely that
The
you're gonna
deadline
be
is
able to
not,
start
the
in 2
deadline
days.
has not passed.
Excuse
You
me?
are 100% right. The deadline has not passed.
That's right.
So are you going back to are we saying
And what are you
now?
looking for today? Are you looking
Oh,
for an
yeah.
extension today?
Okay, I want 2 things. Since the building inspector is now, after going through the stormwater permit and all this other stuff, is claiming that these lots are not buildable and not issuing permits based on that, that's an issue that affects sewer. We're ready to go to start construction, but if the building inspector is saying, no, you're not allowed to dig land, even though you have a stormwater permit that says you're allowed to alter more than 5,000 square feet of land, then I want an extension based upon that. The other thing I want is, I want you to go, I mean, basically admit that you're wrong. And it doesn't have to admit that you're wrong. certain commitments were made. It's all documented in the letter. That's what I want. It was what was agreed to. Then you took money from me based upon that representation. That's what I want. I want it to be to the 16th. That's it.
Again,
I mean, is there any disagreement to what I put in the letter as far as starting construction? That it what I mean, your position at the last meeting was that, oh, we only told him connect. He had to be connect. You didn't even say the word connect once in the meeting. There couldn't be anything further. And also, I am totally misquoted in the minutes where somebody says that I agreed to connect to sewer. I will bet you hands down, if you find that in the meeting, I'll withdraw everything. You can keep the sewer connections. That is 100%, this narrative is being created to contour to how the sewer connection wants this to play out. So it's totally unfair to me. It's totally unfair to the buyers of the other lot. You go into a certain aspect of the meeting where you start saying, oh, these poor people that are going to be buying lots based on what Matt Shannon has told them. Well, no, people that relied upon what you said at the March 16th meeting, people have relied upon that information, and then everybody changed their mind. So the fair thing to do is say, here, you have till the 16th to start construction on the lot. This is what we agreed to, and that's the end of it. And now one other thing to point out, there's been another whole, I don't know where this came from. There's now something called the grandfathered sewer fee, which I believe Mr. Hoffman is referring to as $6,000. That was brand new at the last meeting that I attended. The choices were either connect to sewer by the 16th and pay nothing, or pay the full boat of $37,000 and change. Now, this was the case with Sean Richard and the lot I sold on Windy Hill. I sold him the lot, he built the house, he paid nothing. There is no grandfathered fee of $6,000. The number of $6,000, I believe, came up because maybe during a discussion, that's what the original owner of the Templar house paid for the sewer connection or the betterment when he did it. That is the only significant $6,000 had. There is no quote unquote grandfathered fee. It is either nothing or the full price. So I don't know what else I can say beyond that. I mean, that's basically everything that happened. And in good faith, I paid the $5,100 expecting that the construction deadline would be the 16th. And now we're getting into something where a permit is being held up because of, I mean, I went through a stormwater permit. I mean, this was the longest stormwater permit in history. For somebody to not say along the, I mean, we had a building inspector at that time as well. For somebody to say, well, you're permitting unbuildable lots that are actually, they were held in common ownership, and it's actually just one lot. That's ridiculous. So I want two things. I want the construction. I want this to be recognized that it's start construction, and I want a certain time period from whenever this is resolved with the building department that these are buildable lots. However extra time this has taken, I want that as an extension.
Again, the proof of burden of whether buildable is up to the applicant, not the board.
It's been submitted.
You're the applicant. You applied for hold on.
Sure.
You applied for a building permit back in October 28th, 2020. You
Right.
abandoned it. You didn't follow through on it. That leads me to believe that there was no contact up until recently.
Well,
That's over a year before I started. So what,
let me explain why. We started with this whole thing with the sewer commission. That's why in October, shortly after that, I think it was maybe December or January, all of a sudden the sewer commission reached out to me and said, and I think it had to do with Sean Richard and his lot and the whole, him not paying any fee, that they wanted to see what I had left and what I was going to do with the property. But as far as not applying for finishing the permit, I recently submitted a permit, and they're going to be deemed as buildable lots. I mean, I have the letter from Rich Henderson. Rich Henderson is willing to speak with you. So that's not an issue as far as, if they're deemed to be not buildable, then we don't build on them. But that's not going to be the case.
Yeah, I mean, the other reason for the permit, I think the owner is still on the delinquency list. So I don't know if I can.
For what? I just paid the taxes on all three properties or two properties.
I'll leave you up to figure it out with the town, but the most recent list I had, it's on there, so. I
Dated
can't-
when?
I don't have it in front of me, but you'll have to look it up.
Where do I go to do that?
You could start with the assessor's office.
Okay, so as far as that's concerned, I think that really has to be taken into consideration. Whereas we're in a position now where a building permit is being held up because of, although we submitted this information, we permitted it through stormwater. I mean, this isn't just some fresh piece of land that all of a sudden it appeared first before the, and you know what, even, I've played all the meetings. Mr. Sawchuk, at one point, you did say there are 3 buildable lots in one of the recordings. So it's going to be deemed that they're buildable lots. So if this takes a week or 2 weeks to resolve, that should be added on to, the sewer connection issue.
Can I jump in 1 second? Is that okay? Can I jump in?
Sure.
Oh, good. Okay. So I don't know if everyone has this or not, but I do have the letters. I have the letters for Henderson, and John, it probably just got in the shuffle. We had sent it to you on the 9th and Jeff Hassett, because Jeff Hassett was asking for it too. So so you should have all of the original letters from Mr. Henderson from a while ago.
Let me clarify something with this letter. In order to transfer these connections the very first time, this letter was prepared and presented. So this is nothing new to the town, although it is being asked for now. This is part of the very first time these sewer connections came before the board. So this has already been, I mean, it's fine that it wants to be reviewed, but as far as if it's my burden, it has been met because this was a requirement to be able to transfer these EDUs to Howe Road.
When was
And the
that
letter-
date? When was that letter dated?
It's, I believe, September of 2013.
So we've been working on this for the better part of 7 years for this
Well,
transfer?
nobody's been working on it.
Oh,
mean,
I have. Oh, don't tell me that I haven't been.
What have you been doing?
I've been doing
Certainly-
this. And
Certainly not installing the sewer connection.
Yeah, wonderful. I guess the issue here, and since we're sort of, bearing our souls on this, is basically that you have had control of 3 sewer permits at a greatly reduced rate. We met with you and your attorney in March. I don't have all the dates in hand. And we gave you until the 16th to connect. Now,
That is wrong. It is
Oh,
start
yeah.
construction. How many times do I have to say and point to the paperwork and your own words of the word connect was not said.
I
So-
do remember a conversation that Wayne had, and Wayne, please correct me if I'm wrong, where Wayne was talking about a connection through the foundation, I believe is what it is. I'm not a contractor and I don't purport to be. But
Mr. McGowan, did you read the letter I submitted?
I'm sure I did. I don't have it in front of me at the moment.
Do you want me to read
No, I
what
don't.
was discussed at the meeting? Well, I think it's sort of important I do, because I really would like to know why we're having this issue.
Can I just jump in here, please?
Sure.
The fact that, language is used in the discussion, the official actions of the board are stated in writing. And the letters that Lisa sent out on behalf of the board with respect to each of the 3 property clearly states that there's a connection required by September 16th.
Well, what about the letter that
And
there was?
no, Matt,
No,
please.
what about the letter that was
Matt-
sent
Oh,
to you?
Matt, let him talk. Let him
Matt.
speak, please.
Well, then you let me speak too, because I have something to say back.
the official action of the commission is reflected in that letter. And the fact that during discussions, people use other terms doesn't change the fact of the official action by and on behalf of the commission.
Okay,
And
now
that-
I have a
those-
response.
those-
please.
Matthew, those letters are the action of the commission and reflect accurately the intent of the commission.
Okay, just let me know when you're done.
And that settles the matter in my mind legally.
Just, are you done now?
Yes.
May I speak? Thank you. Letter sent to you.
No, you asked the chair whether you want to speak.
I mean, this is already a kangaroo court. I just figured everybody would talk when they want to. Mr. Hopkins.
Yeah, no, let me just again go on record by saying, and to those who, you know, to those who may not know all the stuff, we have been doing this for a long period of time. Is that correct? Okay. And I think that we have given you, Matt, tremendous leeway with the exercising of these sewer permits. And in my mind, the crux of the matter is, do I pay X or do I pay $37,500 for them? And that is the thing. There is no collusion that you're referring to with.
I didn't use the word collusion. So you, again, you're.
I inferred that word by what you're saying. And again, let me finish. Please don't interrupt me.
And then let me speak, and then please don't interrupt me.
Okay. I just let me finish.
Sure.
So there was an inference. My word is collusion, but there was an inference, if I can use that word correctly, that we are somehow in cahoots with the building inspector to prevent you from doing anything. That is not even close to being true. So as Rod, as our attorney, has stated in our official communications, we use the word connection. And I do remember reading that. And that's our position. I mean, we can keep going back and forth and back and forth. The fact of the matter is that, you know, after the middle of March, why didn't you start building then? I will let you speak now.
Okay, now the letter, if Mr. Hoffman wants to say that everything was done in writing, the letter sent to Mr. Hoffman, I'll read 2 sentences from it. On behalf of Mr. Shannon, we have agreed that construction will start on the buildings on these 3 lots no later than 6 months from the date the permits are officially issued, which will be at the board's next meeting. That was agreed to by Rod Hoffman, as I sent the email chain with the letter. Then right after that, in May, you take $5,100 from me for these inspection fees and issue the permit a day later, which nobody noticed, said connect. So as far as when this was approved, and everything before this is start construction, the board or somebody changed their mind. And I want to know when and why they changed their mind, because it was not done at a public meeting or with my input. And that's not allowed.
What are you referring to? What did we change our minds on?
The agreement was that I would start construction. That's what's in the letter that was okayed by Mr. Hoffman. Mr. Hoffman, did you take this letter and then send back an email saying, looks good to me, to my attorney, Steve Ryder?
Yes, but I don't speak for the commission.
Then who do you speak for?
The main point of that letter was the acceptance of the tax payments.
This is something
That's fine.
There's nothing about tax payments in the letter.
Yeah, and just to follow up with that letter, Matt, too, I think you read it as to start construction on the buildings. You know, just to
Start
quote your
construction
words.
on the buildings?
Yes.
So within 6 months, I have to, so what would you call the building? What is the building?
Foundation, the home, the structure. So that would be, you know, what the letter, what you read to us would indicate. Just
So that seems like it's overly vague if that's the case.
well, I think construction on the building is pretty clear.
No, well, I don't think it was. And especially the fact that after I did this, and I was under the impression that I was going to get 3 permits at the grandfathered rate, and then I pay $5,100 a day later, and the commission changes its mind. That I don't find that acceptable, because basically, after going through all this, I could have done nothing and been in the same position. So why did I even bother doing all this? Spending attorney's fees, wasting time, coming to all these meetings, filling out applications. Why would I have bothered? If you had said back 6 months ago, your permits are gone, you know, whatever. That's one thing, but to go through all these hoops to keep them going, what was the point? It doesn't make any sense. There's no way that you can take the transcript and what's happened and make sense out of it as how the board's position is today with this whole connect thing. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. But,
Okay.
I mean, you're getting into something where at the last meeting, where you're saying these are being used as a commodity and all these, there's been some talk about that, which is not the case. These should go with the land. It's not a commodity where it should be able to be traded. And I believe you made it so that that cannot be done anymore, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, as far as the commodity, I think that's what you actually did in the very beginning, because you didn't even pay for the sewer connections for the Templar house yourself. The previous owner bought them.
No,
Then
but I
you
bought a
looked at this
property and they
little
came with the
loophole that said,
property.
hey, I just built a larger building than what was there. I put 3 units there. Lord knows they may have used the same amount of water, the same amount of septic. And gee, I think I can go ahead and go to the sewer board and get permission in 2013 to transfer some of this unused capacity.
Mr. Sawchuk, didn't you vote in favor of it?
Am I finished?
I don't know. You paused. I didn't interrupt you.
Oh, well, do me a favor. Until you ask you ask the chairman if you want to speak, okay? Now.
Who is that?
All right, I'm going to end my discussion right now with a request to you. And that is, tell us what 2 things you want the commission to approve, and then we will go ahead and vote, discuss it and vote on it, and that's it. And we're doing that today. So go ahead.
Okay, so you don't want to review any of the other points that I brought up about the past discussions and how it led to
Matthew, I just
Yes?
told you what the request is that I have, which would the rest of the commission like to say, what is it that you want today, and have a discussion and then vote on it.
Okay, so I want the terms that were put into the letter, sent to Rod Hoffman, okayed by Rod Hoffman on April 1st. The letter is dated April 1st, 2021, which I subsequently paid $5,100 for the day after. And I would like those terms to be honored as they were agreed to. And then if there's an issue that has come up with the building inspector not issuing a permit based on information that was already submitted a long time ago, I want an extension with that too. 2 things.
Okay. There's serious disagreement in what you say that the April 1st letter says, because there is a letter that you did not say that your attorney at the time went ahead and said, yes, I agree that the 16th of September would be the deadline, and we agree to that.
Mm-hmm.
That's number 1. So that disagrees with your first part. And the second is, I would not be in favor of giving an extension to someone that has had since 2013 to do something and has come before the board numerous times and gotten numerous extensions and being told numerous times that that's it. There's no more extensions. And then finally putting it in writing, finally having the attorneys agree to it, and finally ending this saga that you have started, and now it's over.
Can I respond when you have a second?
Yeah, go ahead.
The letter, as far as the start construction issue, if that's going to be affected, is that what you're saying, that I'm disagreeing with the letter? I'm not consistent with the letter, just to clarify? Mr. Sawchuk?
You made no attempt to put in any building applications so that you could start construction. And so
There is a foundation.
that caused it.
Okay, all right. Why don't we skip that part? Why don't we just do the first? Forget about the extension.
So in other words, you're happy that they're not getting the extension.
I disagree with it, but I mean, well, let me put it this way: if the building inspector is going to leave for vacation in 15 minutes and come back on Thursday, then no, I don't think. If this is something that could be resolved and the building inspector is willing to look at this and address it.
Hold on just a minute. Please don't use that tone and talk to myself or any other members. You need to be respectful. As far as what my schedule is and what I do is not your concern. If you need to make a inspection, a schedule, you can call the office just like anyone else do. I have meetings that I meet with all of the people there, but there's no need to be treated like that, myself or any other members. So if there's a discussion there and I don't have the information that I need to proceed with the building permit, I don't have the information I need to proceed to the building permit. The timely matter that I'm addressing this is timely because you're running late and you choose to have this addressed quickly. That's not my concern. So please be respectful and act appropriately.
Well, I'm as respectful basically as I feel like I'm acting how I'm being treated. So, you know, that's how I feel with this whole ordeal. So I apologize if you're offended by that, but at the same time, your position now is affecting this agreement that was made with the sewer commission. So it's sort of that such that if that's the case, you should want to resolve it. But but we can take that off the yeah. As far as the extension, yeah, just the issue of connect versus construct.
Well, I'm going to go back to what Attorney Hoffman said, and that as the position of the board. I am not, and as we're doing a discussion here right now amongst the board, I am not in favor of granting another extension. We've done it, I don't know how many times. And, you know, my own opinion is this stuff should have been done a long time ago. And I don't know why it's taken so long. And I'm not about to offer any opinions as to why, but I don't know. And I just think we've done it. We've kept going and going, and that's my opinion. Paul, do you have something you want to share? Or?
No, I think we've exhausted this whole subject matter, and I don't think we need to move forward with anything. Whether construction were to begin or connection were to begin, it has to be done within 48 hours, which is the 16th. And we know that that's not going to happen, whether a building permit was issued today or not. So I think that what Mr. Hoffman's letters that we had produced and what he had stated is the position of the board, which was to connect. Matt, it disagrees with connect and said construction. Either way, none of those are going to happen in 48 hours. So I think that we're not going to see that occur.
Okay, Rod.
Well, maybe the way to resolve this is, as Wayne has suggested, have a motion to the effect that the actions of the board with respect to these properties, the term connection should be revised to say commencement of construction. Put that motion forward and vote on it. And if it's defeated, then it's defeated.
Really? That's great.
Huh.
What grade are they? Fourth. Wow. I remember when I went to kindergarten because he was in here. I started.
Somebody's talking over us here a little bit.
Oh, thank you. All right. Damn it. I'm so.
I don't know.
Rod, I don't quite understand in simple terms what the motion would be. I'm just confused.
Well, as I understand Mr. Shannon's request is that the commission change its language that required a connection to the sewer system by September 16th and change that language to commencement of construction of the building by September 16th. And if that motion is made, seconded, and then voted on, then the commission has made its decision.
My only concern on this is what the definition of construction in this case is. Having somebody with a shovel go through and dig a few holes is not construction in my mind. It would be,
Well-
as John had said, the development of a foundation and the building of a building.
If the motion is defeated, then that doesn't matter.
Now, my big problem is that he has made no attempt to get the building permits that allows him to be able to start. He's had since 2013, if he went ahead and got a building permit and he was halfway through the building and the sewer connection wasn't done, then you've got a totally different story. But when you haven't done a single thing, and now you want to say, well, I can put some silt fence out and that's start of construction, that isn't construction because you need a building permit to have construction. If even he had the building permits before us and he was starting it, and he was putting a bulldozer in, and he was approaching, a time that he couldn't finish it, that's a different story. That's a totally different story. The problem is he didn't do a single thing positive to go ahead and do what he said he was going to do several times.
And we also had a pandemic and people were granted extensions because of that, but apparently not me.
But you never brought that up until just this moment.
No,
So that's
actually,
like the
Mr.
thing you
Pierce
do.
brought it up at another meeting.
A new thing.
No, it's not a
Anyway,
new thing. It's
I think-
actually, it's not
Whoa,
something.
time
I'm
out,
making a
time
motion
out.
to stop consideration of this article. It is after the 10:35 that we had started, so that we went to, and we have to move on.
Mr. Chair, I have to check out now, but if you have further questions for me, I will be available this afternoon.
All right, well, thank you, John, for coming to this.
Appreciate your time.
All right, appreciate yours.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah, weird luck. I'm a good friend group.
So, Wayne, I think you got stepped on a bit there. Can you restate what you were?
I guess I just want to make a motion that we are not considering an extension after September 16th on this particular issue. And the reason is there was no activity. I guess it's because of everything we've said previously, just so that the applicant knows that we're not providing an extension on the agreement that was reached earlier.
So I'm not allowed to speak anymore?
Who said that? Who said that you weren't?
Wayne said that's the end of the issue.
No, that's.
Wayne has made a motion. There should be a second.
I will sec- go ahead, Paul. Go ahead.
Yeah, Paul Keir, second.
Why don't we do a roll call vote? Bill McGowan, agree.
Paul Kears, agree.
Wayne Sawchuck, agree. All right, the next item on the agenda is what?
Margin Street, is that what we're doing?
Oh, sorry. Yes, so there are abatements on the list.
Okay, wait a second. We didn't address the issue of construction. I asked for two things.
We just made a motion that we are not going to give an extension past the 16th.
But the issue of construction and connect was never addressed.
So we didn't address that issue because our issues were confirmed in written correspondence on behalf of the entire commission to you. You don't seem to acknowledge that. You seem to be focused on the April letter that Mr. Ryder had sent to Mr. Hoffman. So we can't seem to move past that with you. So we voted to not extend anything past the 16th.
Well, if we want to go to written correspondence, why don't we go back to the letter where it states that everything was paid in full? that the commission conveniently wants to say should not have been distributed. If we
So-
want to go to written correspondence, why don't we bring up that letter?
So Matt, we've ended conversation on this subject matter. We have another board meeting coming up on the 28th.
Okay, so I am being denied due process with this board, basically, is what it boils down to. And the board has somehow changed the terms of what it agreed to with me, not at a public meeting, correct?
No.
When did it change it and who changed it? When did it change the terms?
I don't believe we have. And I think that as far as you not getting due process, you've been getting due process since 2013.
Disagree.
Yeah.
But I've presented you with information that apparently you won't even consider or acknowledge as statements that you've made. And this definitely was changed without being done at a public meeting.
If you can prove it, go ahead. There's no more discussion on this.
Right.
We've already talked about that, Wayne. We're done with the discussion.
Thank you.
And we're moving on to the next item on the agenda.
Okay.
And so you can put Matt on mute if he wants to stay on, or he's disconnected.
Did he just leave?
Yep.
Okay. Can't find my agenda now, so.
Okay,
So,
so,
Lisa, what do we-
the
75.
abatements were next.
Well, should we do Border Street since they've been waiting since,
Yeah, they're still on. I would do Border Street next.
yeah, where I don't think there's anybody here for the,
They are on.
okay. And I don't think there's anybody here for the abatements right now. Is
Okay.
anybody here for the abatements? Okay,
I don't see anyone.
okay. So yes, I don't see a problem with us moving forward. Do you, Rod, even though it says 11:30? 75 Border Street was going to be under other business. And the people that want to discuss it are here.
Yeah, if we don't have the abatement people, we can just go ahead. Right, I think we just go ahead, so. But
Okay,
are you okay with that, Rod?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
so 75 Border Street was a new construction. It was it was changed from 28R Black Horse Lane, I believe. And the new address is 75 Border Street. They had a sewer application in. It's a new sewer connection. And going through my files, I realized that they didn't pay the connection fee of $37,500.
Mhm.
And so I sent Mr. and Mrs. Tedeschi a letter telling them that it was overdue, and they had responded to the contrary, that I had told them that they didn't owe anything back in February of 2020. I know I would not have said that in a conversation over the phone. I was, granted, I was new to the sewer commission, and being new, I would not have said that. So they were sent a letter back in March 16th of 2020. That was their approval letter that was sent to the 55 Stockbridge Street in Cohasset, which was their current mailing address, and saying that they were approved and saying that they did owe the $37,500 for one EDU. And they're here to represent themselves, saying that I told them that nothing was due. You have the floor.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. We prepared something. We just found out about the meeting yesterday. Lisa got back to us. We had asked for some time in front of the board, so we appreciate you taking the time. And Rod, I'm glad you're here as well, because I think this would, this is our first opportunity to address you guys. So I'll let Jill, my wife, kind of read the statement that we wrote up, just to give you a little bit more of the background.
Yeah, and I actually was the one, although Paul overheard the main conversation with Lisa, but I was the one that actually had many, many phone conversations with her. I mean, I can remember 3, there may have been more. But basically, we began investigating the potential purchase of the land known as 75 Border Street back in November of 2019. As part of this process, we did a great deal of due diligence related to the property. We learned that the property was previously labeled 28R Black Horse Lane and was part of a larger parcel that had been subdivided. While walking the property, it was clear that there was previously a brick foundation. Our most important question before we purchased the property was if we would have to pay a sewer privilege or connection fee. On December 19th, 2019, we received an email from the town sewer engineer, Jason Federico, showing the sewer stub location for what is now known as 75 Border Street from an engineering plan dated back to 1973. All along, we knew that having a sewer stub on the property did not mean that we would not have to pay a privilege connection fee, and we therefore needed to do more legwork. We then reached out to Lisa McGonigal to research and confirm. Lisa was extremely helpful with our research. She stated that she was new and had to look into the sewer stub with her boss and the engineer. And just as a side note, she said because she was new, she couldn't make any decisions. She had to do, more research and get, the word of some other people. On February 3rd, 2020, during a phone conversation, and I remember it extremely well, Paul was listening as well, Lisa confirmed that we were able to build a 4-bedroom home and we did not have to pay a privilege fee. I specifically asked that question. This confirmation was based on her research as well as others. She did not make that decision alone. She said she met with the engineer, her boss, into that 28R Black Horse Lane, now 75 Border. And, I feel like Lisa and I became sort of friendly after so many conversations. She was super enthusiastic. She said she shared in our excitement because I said I was the one that wanted to purchase this property and my husband, Paul, was not quite on board with it, and that made a huge difference in whether we were going to purchase the property. I then sent Lisa an email on the same day and thanked her for all of her help and stated how excited I was. She sent back an email stating all we needed to do was to submit $1,000 for the sewer connection application and nothing else was needed. She informed us that this money was used towards the engineer's time to review the plans. Then, based on the confirmation from Lisa, we decided to proceed to purchase the property. A few weeks later, we closed on 75 Border Street. We spent the majority of 2020 building the property. We received our occupancy in 10/21 without any notification from the town related to a requirement to pay a sewer connection fee. We've spoken to Brian Davis from Rosano Davis, who will confirm an old foundation at the property, and also that he was aware that we had approval for a 4-bedroom home with no privilege fee based on his own conversations and paperwork with the sewer department. In addition, Kevin Lewis, the seller's real estate broker, can also confirm that he spoke directly with Lisa McGonigal prior to our closing, and she again confirmed that we were all set for a 4-bedroom home without a sewer privilege connection fee. I think most importantly, we want to make it very clear that since Lisa's verification on February 3rd, 2020, We never thought we would have to pay a sewer privilege fee to the town of Cohasset. It wasn't until we received a certified letter this past August 21st, 2021. That letter was a complete shock for both of us. It claimed that we were sent a letter from Lisa McGonigal back in March of 2020 asking for the privilege fee. We strongly disagree with Lisa's claim that she sent us this letter. And I know that sounds extremely strong of us to say that, but trust me when I tell you, we get letters and notifications all the way back to the first property we've done in Cohasset. We've moved around a lot, and pretty much all the people know who we are and always get the letters to us, and we never received that. We find it very hard to believe there would be no follow-up for a year and a half. We have consulted with a few attorneys, and they all feel strongly that this is a case of promissory estoppel, which I'm sure you've all heard before. But we relied on the sewer department's verification that we did not have to pay a betterment fee, and as a result, we purchased the property. We are more than willing to share various documents and emails depicting miscommunications and inconsistencies, but it's our hope that we can come to a mutually agreed upon solution. Thank you.
I have sort of a question, Wayne Soccer. You would be the only house that would not contribute towards the construction of that sewer main in the street and the subsequent stub. And I can't believe that someone, if what you say is true, someone would have had to pay the owner's share of the construction of that portion of the sewer main. In other words, their contribution. For instance, for the Little Harbor project, every single resident paid $28,000, plus they had to pay to put the line from the house to the street. In other areas, it was half paid for by the town and half paid for by the residents. And that section of Border Street might have come under that particular time frame because
Wayne,
of outside, unless Dan has information.
Yeah, I mean, basically, this is part of the original Face Spofford and Thorndike system built in the originally, and a stub was placed for this property at that time. So it's part of the original sewer system, and the stub that was out heading to this property was part of that system.
Okay. Now, at that point in time, wouldn't the residents be paying their portion of that construction?
If a betterment was assigned back in the 70s, late 70s, the property owner would have to pay for that, a portion of the cost. But I don't have those records. All I can assume at this point in time is either it was paid 100% by the town or through federal funding to build that, or a betterment was assigned appropriately at that time. I can only assume that.
So my question was, did the owner of the 28R Black Quartz Lane pay a portion of that connection years ago? And I'm only looking to say,
yeah,
I wouldn't want you to be the only person in the town that is getting a free connection all the way through to the time it was built in 1970, And so
all I can tell you is there have been other stubs placed on that original system. At that point in time, stubs were placed at vacant lots, and those people were allowed to connect to the system, to my knowledge, without anything besides an application fee.
Chairman McGowan, can I just make a reference back to Wayne's comment?
Sure.
So Wayne, obviously we've talked before, and we've done other projects in town of Cohasset. I understand what you're asking for, but to Mr. Coughlin's point, That's why we did the due diligence prior to purchasing. When we got the first email, it was December of 2019. We didn't close till mid-February of 2020. We spoke, and all the confirmations that we had with the sewer department through Lisa. And again, we're not trying to throw her under the bus. We know she was new. My wife couldn't have had a better experience working with her, but that's why we were doing the due diligence. Only after receiving that information, which seems to be somewhat consistent with what Mr. Coughlin's saying, did we end up purchasing the property. Because I was the one on the fence. This was pre-COVID, pre the escalation of property values, all this stuff. This was a big undertaking for us. And there were certain, there was a lot of due diligence we needed to do. And that's why Kevin Lewis, the broker who represented the Browns, not us, could attest. We were about to pull out. Then we got this information and I was persuaded. So that's why we're coming back to you again. And we would go under oath to swear that we had not one knowledge. So to your point that we'd be the only people, we understand what you're referring to, but that's why we did the due diligence. We never once had any inclination whatsoever. And it's kind of strange to think we could go 16 months to this date
18 months.
or 8 months of building and not have any contact whatsoever, including the inspector coming out and visually inspecting and working with Rosanna Davis when they laid our connection to our home. I want to say that was back in May of 2020, somewhere in that time frame. So I'll turn it back to you guys for any further questions.
My purpose was just to be something about fairness. In other words, if in fact the $37,500, but in fact the cost at the time was $6,000, I'd be more inclined to say, let's pay what it would have been back in 1970 or something.
And
so
yeah, one of the attorneys brought that same question up.
And again, Chairman, if we just rebut, are we allowed? I'll take that as a yes. He's drinking water. And Wayne, that's what we're seeking here. I mean, you can understand if you were in our situation receiving this. In fact, the first letter we received in August, I know you can't see it. It states that we owe $46,875. And I think that's because there was a understanding we had a 5-bedroom home. We in fact do not have a 5-bedroom home. We have a 4-bedroom home, but you can imagine the shock and awe that we would receive. So, I don't know what the betterment tie-in fee was in 72, 73, but obviously, if it's $5,000 or $6,000 fee, that is something we're willing to do. Not to bring another recourse, but we had another situation earlier in this property development with the town. The town took some blame and responsibility, and where we were allowed to seek reimbursement. We didn't choose to do that. We're not trying to put more burden on the town, but we're also asking to be treated fairly. And again, we acted according. I don't want to get to the legal jargon of it, and I'll let Mr. Hoffman speak to it, but we made the decision to purchase the property and move forward based on the knowledge and understanding that we had. So I would just ask for that consideration when the board considers this in their review.
So, Wayne, do you know what was the connection privilege fee at the time that they bought it a couple of years ago or a year ago? Would it have been $6,000? You remember?
No. What I was trying to do is to say there's two possibilities. One is that the owners of the Black Horse Lane total property may have been assessed a betterment back in 1972. And is this after 72, Dan? Because I own property that has sewer connections in 1973. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was all part of the original sewer system when the plant was built. So
in the 70s. Yeah.
Yeah, it was probably completed. Yeah. It was in the 70s.
Yeah, and in that time it was $6,000 was the total amount, and I think the town paid $3,000 and the resident paid $3,000.
Yeah, I was going to guess it was going to be around $3,000.
Was it? Yeah,
I think it was $3,000. I think you're correct.
And the financing for 20 years might have been paid off by someone's tax bill that owned the property, right? So if you go from 73, 83, 93, that would have wiped out. And so it was sort of my just curiosity that did it go back to the time that in fact it might have been part of the other parcel, and therefore it was paid. If it was paid, then there shouldn't be anything due to you today, because that money was used to pay for it. This whole fee structure that we do today was to be fair to the current prices and the current circumstances, that the homeowner is paying for 100% of it because of the Little Harbor District. Town meeting voted not people in Little Harbor had a lot of money at the town meeting, they were rich, so they should pay for it if they need sewer, even though the state required that we sewered the land to prevent the pollution in the Little Harbor. Okay. Before that time, it was always split either 50-50 or 100% in certain areas paid for by the town, as Dan said. So I was just trying to take the money aspect of it and see what help we could be, and not making something, that everybody's upset with. So that's the end of my speech.
Rod, do you have any comment on all this?
I mean, I just advised, the board on another matter about, promissory estoppel not being enforceable against a municipal entity. That being the case, I don't, as the discussion is trended, I don't think that this is a purely legal matter. I think it's a matter for fairness, equitable consideration.
So I guess the point at hand is what's the magic number in this situation, and what can we live with? I'd be in favor of, at the time that you bought the house, whatever the rate was, that's it. Not, whatever that was, and I don't remember it. Lisa, do you have an idea of what the rate would have been when they bought the house?
Well, when they applied in February, it would have been the 37.5.
Okay.
For the sewer connection. I can go back and check with Jason and Michelle to see if they have any historical data on that property, but because the 28R was subdivided, I don't know if that sewer connection went to 75 border, but like I said, I can check with Jason and Michelle, and because any information that I would have given to anybody at that time, I would have been reaching out to both of them.
No, we get it. I mean, we're not throwing rocks at you by any means. So
no, I know. And then the other thing is, I know that you had Jill and Paul. You guys had applied for a water connection, and in January. So in January 2020, and was granted that.
So Chairman, again, make a comment?
Sure.
A couple of things. So first, I think what Wayne was referring to earlier was when he was referring to the property at the time. This was a property that we developed a new home on, obviously, but at one point in time, there was a foundation, and clearly, to Mr. Coughlin's point, and we have a copy of the email when we were doing the investigation, in 1973, there was a sewer stub established for this property. It clearly was right where the two stone pillars are that is now our driveway. It was off the road. It was all set up. So that was 1973. So I think what Wayne was referring to was what was the sewer stub connection fee at that time to the landowners of the property. To Lisa's point, yes, the sellers that we purchased from paid the betterment fee for the water. I think they were under the impression like we were on the sewer piece. That's why we were doing the due diligence. But yes, the water was applied for and was satisfied by them and transferred to us, et cetera. But I just wanted to reference what Mr. McGowan was saying relative to Mr. Sawchuk in terms of that value. And I think Mr. Coughlin can confirm we have the email showing the sewer stub placement, which is what Rosanna Davis found when they went to attach it. That was set up from 1973's original plan that took it right to the start of the Border Street Bridge.
I'd like to maybe relate the value to what it was, let's say 10 years ago when I was on the board. There were certain people that bought additional capacity and stuff in the village. For instance, the hardware store bought 6 EDUs or something, so that they were thinking about putting some condominiums there or something like that. And then that didn't go through, so we ended up giving them their money back, or the town buying them back. And whatever that number was, it's still being used in the village area, and it appreciates by inflation. Whatever so if it was $9,000 today this year, it might be $9,100 next year and $9,400. Whatever the cost of living is, it's been escalated, but it's somewhere in the $9,000 range. And I don't know whether that makes it an easier thing to do, but in fact, if the sewer betterment was on the land 20 years ago, and in fact, it had been paid off, then my opinion is nothing's due, that's paid off.
Hey, I would have to agree with that. We have to make the assumption that our predecessors, when installing this entire sewer system in that entire area, there's no record of people not paying. In fact, we're assuming that the sewer was put in, the connections were placed, and everyone would have paid at that period of time over that period of time. So for us to go back and try and figure out what happened back in the 70s or 80s, it's a moot point, I think. I don't believe that any fee should be recovered by the new property owners because they, along with myself, are under the assumption that this has already been paid for in the past. And the town has had basically 2 years to figure that out, and they've said nothing for 2 years. And now we are kind of looking at it saying, we think they owe us money, but we have no evidence that it was never paid in the past. So I'm in favor of releasing any financial obligation on this for a privilege and hookup fee. I don't think it's warranted in this particular case.
Yeah, my only question to Lisa is that was there any due diligence done, by the town, whether it's you or Jason or Michelle, as to whether or not somebody did pay this actual off of Black Horse Lane?
That's something that I'll have to check with Jason and Michelle on, because they would have been people that I talked to. But just based on the March 16th, 2020 sewer connection approval letter saying that the 37.5 was due, then that's what I was basing today's.
Yeah, no, I get that. I get it. I think I would be in favor of, well, two things. One is I would be in favor of not doing anything, not claiming a charge. But I'd like you to go to the assessor's office and just do a quick, can they establish whether or not there was was there a payment ever made on that Black Horse property, whatever it is here, 28R. And I wouldn't spend more than 20 minutes on this. If they can't find anything, or if they can't, or if they finally say, yeah, that was paid, then I think we're done.
And I think the second part would be, if it wasn't, what was the fee at the time? That's just that, in other words, for the person, and you could just pick other houses on Border Street that are in that same area, and just go in and historically with some addresses find out what it was.
Somebody must have paid something. Yeah.
In 73. I mean.
And if I may comment for Lisa's sake, if she's going to the assessor's office, the property originally, because Jack Livingston gave us some history on it as a friend, it was the Bigelow estate, or Bigelow property, was one of the original owners back in the old Cohasset days.
Yeah.
And I also know another reference to your point then would be next door, the Porter property, which I believe was somewhat built around that 70s timeframe. Obviously they were, or was already built, and they connected. Yeah. Probably in that 1973 frame. They're the abutting property right next to us that obviously is on the same map from 1973, right, showing connection hookup. So anyway. Did
that have anything? Did it have, of course, I don't know if you did a title search in terms of whether or not you could see whether the betterment was on that. In those days, almost everybody just put it on their taxes, and it was $100 or something, right, a year or $50 a year for 20 years. So it was, so people didn't necessarily go down and write a check for either $3,000 or $6,000. So in that, that's what the price range would be. And that ended up, that's gravity where it is? Gravity
Correct.
coming?
Yeah.
It is. Yep.
So,
Lisa, one more thing too. It may be listed under either Black Horse or Summer. Because the
Or-
Bigelow Estate was much larger back then.
Did you say or Summer Street?
Could be also Summer.
Like 28R Summer,
no, it's 28R.
Black Horse. I did check the files for 28R Black Horse and I didn't see anything and I didn't see any betterments.
Yeah, any property on Black Horse or Summer, I'd take a look at. Because it may not have the same address as it does today.
Prior to a subdivision or something.
What was Porter's number next door?
Border's 81,
81. So look at the
81,
Border Street.
Porter Street.
81 Border.
Mr. McGowan, can I just say something, please?
Sure.
It's a little frustrating. I appreciate that you guys are really kind of helping us with this and looking into it. But Lisa, I know a lot of time has passed, but our conversations on the phone were that you already did all this due diligence and that you came back and said, great news, looked into 28R, you were right, we found it. And you didn't do that alone. You said you met with the engineer and you said you met with your boss and you all looked at the plans and came up with, now whether you weren't looking at the right, I don't know, what happened, but you had said that we were able to do the four bedrooms. So, and you didn't do that alone. I mean, you really took some time and looked into it.
And I can honestly say, I do not recall those conversations. I can honestly say that.
I believe you. I mean,
Okay.
That-
Yeah, but
that's,
I think the point is. too,
That's
though,
not for
that-
nothing.
Yeah, the point is that the board, this is the first time the board's really been looking at
Yeah.
it. So I just want to, I don't want to just, for lack of a better word, rubber stamp it, but I think I would feel better if we just look at it. Okay, either we can't find anything or we find that it has been done. I mean, the result will probably be the same.
Okay. Well, we appreciate it.
yes.
And you've heard comments from earlier discussions and stuff, and we don't want to get those things involved. you know?
No, we don't either.
And Lisa, you're allowed half an hour.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of those aren't probably going to be digital, so.
Okay.
All right.
So
We appreciate your time.
Appreciate
Thank
the
you.
time.
Yep, later.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you very much.
All right.
So Lisa, do you know who is on one of the attendees? It's under B.
I think that's Brian, but I'm not sure.
Oh, okay.
Could you please use the chat to let us know who you are, B?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, we can. Or now you're on mute again.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry, so who's this?
They're on mute.
It's Brian Joyce.
Oh, it is Brian, okay. All
How are we
right.
doing so far, Brian?
Good. I'm having side conversations on my other phone here, so sorry, I'm off camera and muted.
Okay.
Have you been on the entire session?
I was in on half of Diab and the majority of the last session.
Yep, okay.
So the next order is the abatement requests. 38 Stockbridge, I believe I sent that to you prior to the previous meeting. But you should still have that.
Yeah, I don't have, oh, let me go see if I can find it.
So she's requesting $313 for an abatement. She was concerned that how much her sewer bill went up. She said she watered a few times in the spring, but other than that, the increase appears to be extreme. She went from 2,400 cubic feet in 2020 to 7,200 in 2021. Let me just take a look at that, and that is true. For the same time period. So last year, August billing, last year was 2,400 cubic feet. And this year, August billing was 7,200. And I explained to her that both water and sewer had increased, the rates had increased as well. But she was asking for an abatement.
Those rates only increased 10%.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
But she said she did have, she did check and she didn't have any water leaks or anything. So she doesn't understand why it went up so much. I believe the water department check for leaks, something.
You have a separate meter for irrigation?
I don't believe.
No, I doubt it. This is the condo complex right across the street from Kimball's.
Okay.
But I wonder if they have a common, like a common spigot outside to water. I don't know. I mean,
She says the water department came to check for leaks and they didn't find any. And she would be here, but she had appointments set up. So she was here 2 weeks ago, but we never got to it.
so her water bill in like one period went from 700 to 8,300. Holy Christ, that's a ton.
Yeah. Perhaps the meter is horizontal instead of vertical. I don't understand why it would go that high.
Yeah, no, I think this is something that they've got the water department has to check out. I don't know. I mean, her sewer bill has gone, to your point, Paul, it's gone way up over 10%.
Yeah.
Water department issue an abatement at all?
Pardon me?
The water department issue an abatement?
No, they don't issue abatements.
Well, I don't think we should. I think somebody has to go look at this thing, like the water department, and check it out, because it just seems like a crazy anomaly to go from.
I don't have a problem with an abatement. I have a problem with there's something strange here. It just somebody's got to figure something out for these people.
Yeah, she's never been over $200 like the whole time she's been there.
So I can check with Brenda and see what they can do from that end. Other than she said they did go to check for leaks, but they didn't find any. But you're right, something's got to be going on.
Yeah.
Have they done anything to the hotel there in the ground? Brian, do you know? Because they're across the street, right?
So you're talking about, is it 143 Elm Street, the Cohasset Harbor Inn? Is that the subject matter? They stockpiled. They haven't done any digging out there as far as I know. So they're stockpiling materials from the salt house reconstruction. Other than that, there hasn't been any kind of physical utility construction.
Yeah. So there's nothing else going on in that area other than the salt house.
Right. And sorry, I didn't catch the beginning of this. So the meter we're talking about is the meter for the hotel itself?
No, this is for a condo.
Yeah, the condo across the street. All of a sudden, her water bill went up tenfold, and it's just a bizarre meter reading or water usage. And the water department went out there and said there was nothing wrong. So how can it go, from the reading of 1,600 to 2,400? Looks like every quarter it only varies plus or minus 500 versus, it jumping to 10,000.
What's the address again, Lisa?
It's 38 Stockbridge.
You have 4B Margin Street on the.
Are we looking at two different ones?
Am I looking at?
You're looking at the one for Laura McCullough, right?
Yeah, 38 Stockbridge is deep into Stockbridge Street. It's not near the harbor.
No.
Okay,
I'm
so
looking at-
I'm
looking at
sorry,
page-
I was on the wrong one. I was on the wrong one.
Okay,
Okay. So let me back up.
so I'm looking at 4-B Margin Street.
Yes, and I think I did say that.
I'm looking at the bill from the water department. Readings.
Yeah,
I'm confused. Which one are we doing?
I know, I'm sorry.
Do
It's,
you want me to share my screen? It's up on here.
It's 48 Margin Street is the one that I got.
or
Okay.
4-B,
B.
4-B.
All right, whatever, yeah, 4-B.
Is that the same structure as 4-A? Is it all within the same?
Yeah, it's a
Okay.
building right on the corner, Brian. It's like directly opposite, it's directly opposite the inn. And it's,
Yeah, I'm just trying to get my bearings, and I'm looking at the GIS map, and the address across the street is 4A Margin Street. I'm just assuming that 4B is part of that same structure.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. If you're looking at the Harbor Inn from Elm Street, it's on the left-hand side.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, their meter reading was for 2021 in February, it was 15,400. Then in May, it was 16,100. And all of a sudden, it's 24,400.
Okay, so she did have a running toilet. That's what it was. So the second page on that, on the attachment
So it was running for 3 months.
was she was away, she said. And she called the plumber and he came right away and fixed the running toilet. She lives alone, she's a widow, and she needs an abatement. So that's what appears that it was, but I don't have an invoice or anything from her plumber.
Yeah, we should see that. But that's a tremendous amount though. Oof,
Yeah,
that's a
I'm
hell of a
shocked that
leak.
running toilet would drive 10,000.
So just doing the back of the napkin math, 90 days, you got 9,000. Oh, it's let's see. It's about half a gallon a minute. So that's seems to be maybe what a toilet might be able to do.
Okay,
So a half a gallon a minute for 90 days, half a gallon times, 1440 times 90 is roughly what I think the cubic feet difference is. And just on the water side, I don't know if they've listened to it. They do usually do a one-time abatement. I don't know if they've changed their policy on that, but or if they've even heard this, but it's usually goes to water or sewer, one after the other.
Yeah, and Lisa, I don't see is she asking for a specific number, or is she leaving it up to us to figure out what it should be?
She's asking for 50% reduction, which would be about $428.86.
so she's basically asking to bring it back to where it used to be.
Well, if you're going to go down $400 or whatever, she's going to be considerably above what her past. If you go to the May 3 to 8/2, between August and May, she's got just under an $800 increase. So,
Yeah.
I mean, if she wants it, if she wants half of it, that's fine. I mean,
I have no problem with it.
I would have done math a little bit differently, but maybe even I actually would make a motion just to give her $500. So see, that'll be it, because it's.
I second that.
All right, all in favor, I'll do a roll call. Bill McGowan, aye.
Paul Kearsarge,
Wayne Sawchuck, aye.
Okay.
All right, thank you. And I will double check with Brenda, but every time I ask Brenda if a water abatement was done, she'll always respond and say, we don't give abatements.
Well, maybe a credit or something. I don't know, maybe there's a different label on it.
But I will double check with her.
Okay.
The next one is the Stockbridge one. That was the one that was sent a couple of weeks ago. So this is the one that I was talking about, but everybody else was on Margin Street, sorry. So she's requesting $313 for an
Who is she?
abatement.
Who is she?
It's a Layla Teague. She's at 38 Stockbridge Road or Street, and she's the one that had the water department come and check for leaks, but they didn't find any. But it was really, it went from,
Is this the one with the swimming pool problem 2 years in a row, or is that a different one?
I think that might be a different one. I've never talked to Layla Teague before, so. But her last bill in August of 2020, not her last bill, but August of 2020 was 2,400 cubic feet. This August billing was 7,200 cubic feet.
Okay, yeah, so 38 Stockbridge we're talking about, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Has she been granted an abatement before?
No.
So it says here, abatement requested $313. 4-quarter average use during the same period would have been $1,050. The bill was $3,000. She said she watered new trees and had no previous abatement.
Water department, I don't think typically checks inside for leaks though. Did she have a plumber go at all?
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
I can put that note to her.
That's a huge amount of water. I mean, it's just crazy.
Yeah, this one went up. Well, she was climbing in usage, according to the bill, because in February of this year it was 20,400, then it was 2,100, and then it jumped to 28,200.
Oh, those are the readings. Yeah,
Yep, those are the readings, right. And so she's comparing it to a year ago, same period where it was 16,900. So, but the meter readings have been increasing each quarter.
Well, that's how they, okay, so the way to read this, if you look over to the right a little bit,
Yep.
for the water and sewer usage.
Yeah.
Because the readings, what they're doing is just taking the previous one, subtracting that from the current one, and that's your,
Right.
I mean, that's your usage.
Right.
Okay.
But even so, if you're going like from, say you went from a year ago, like last August, in 20, I mean, it's still almost.
Yeah, doubled that.
Yeah, almost 3 times. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is 3 times.
Yeah.
Sounds like you might have a leak.
Yeah.
But it drops down again in,
Well, I think if you look at it, I think she probably put the trees in last year. That's what she got 2,400, and then put some more in. Now she's at 7,200. I mean, I don't know. What is she looking for an abatement?
313.
313. Yeah, I'm even looking at, I mean, if you look at the rate from August of 20 at 271? Yeah, times 3, we're pretty close. Well, I'm sort of leaning to giving her the abatement with the caveat that she has somebody check the pipes in her house, because and telling her this is the last one. You know,
Yeah.
she's got to either get
She's got to put an outdoor water meter on.
yeah, something. Check the house and an outdoor water meter, because we can't, you know. All right, I'll make a motion to approve the abatement as requested, with the caveat that she gets an outdoor water meter and has somebody check her plumbing for leaks.
Paul Kear, second.
Okay, we'll do a roll call. Bill McGowan, aye.
Paul Kear, aye.
Wayne Sawchuck, aye.
So if I could just clarify, so it's physically not outdoors, it's an irrigation water meter that you're looking for. Just leave.
Okay, yeah, whatever you.
Yeah, separate one. Yeah.
Separate,
That's
yeah.
all.
Deduct.
All
And
right.
Lisa, can you,
Yeah.
on your screen, can you start my video? Because when I get the thing, it says not started by, I'm not in the top league here. I'm a person sitting outside. I was just wondering if it's my fault. I think it's,
I can say
I'm
ask.
not a panelist, is what it says.
Yeah, it says right here you are.
Yeah, and I just said ask, it said ask to start.
Okay.
now.
So start
I'm
my-
gonna make you oh, there
There
you
you
are.
Yeah, but-
Hello.
You know, only took 2 hours, so sorry.
Just in time to adjourn.
Yeah, it was trying to adjourn an hour ago.
Damn, Wayne, you're looking good today.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I just got my hair here.
So
all right.
the last abatement I have is from Alan Petty. And just right at the front, I'm going to tell you, he was granted an abatement recently. And he's asking for another one.
What is he? Did you send that to us?
I did previously from like 2 weeks ago.
What's the address?
So it's 49 Ripley Road.
49 I have.
Yeah, 49
Yep.
Road.
That was an email on 8/24. So this on 49 Ripley Road, abatement requested is $112. 4-quarter average usage during the same period was much higher. He had a faulty sprinkler head and has it repaired, invoice included. He had an abatement last November 2020 in the amount of $504 due to sprinkler system and pool.
Where does this guy live?
So in Lisa's email dated 8/24, in the body of her email, the last property is 49 Ripley Road.
Oh, yeah, I remember this guy. He had a problem in his, that was outside of the line, and he had a hole down there, something like that. This was like a year or so.
Yeah.
He got one and done.
Okay. Anyway.
Everyone agree? I mean, we give him one abatement, that's it?
I agree.
Yeah, he's, it seems to be a systemic issue.
So can you make a motion of denial?
Do we have to? Should we do that, Rod, or does it matter one way or the other?
It's clear if you say, if you know, somebody raises the issue and you vote on it.
All right, well, I'll make a motion that we not grant an abatement based on the fact that he has had an abatement in the last, say, 14 calendar months. Somebody want to second that?
Paul Kear, second.
We'll do a roll call. Bill McGowan, aye.
Paul Kear, aye.
Wayne Sawchuck, aye.
Lisa, the last time with the abatement, did we ask him to put a deduct meter in?
We did, and he just put it in. Let me see, second meter went in. I know I had it before. But I know it was just put in. I don't even think it's on this, but it should be. But I believe that he did put one in, but yeah, irrigation meter charge, $59. So he
I
does.
noticed, as a new matter, I noticed on the paper that came from the water department that they charge $10,000 now for a connection to the water system. And I'm curious if the houses on Howe Road and stuff are in Hingham Water, what the rate is over there for their connections. Just sort of curious.
I don't know.
I can check that out.
I thought $8,000 used to be what the water department got, so it looks like they might have just boosted it up a little bit. That was what 75 Border Street, the previous owner paid.
Well, do we have any other business to look at?
I'm just going to bring up under other business, the Elm Street corridor work for the water main is going to start hopefully in the next 2 weeks. And that includes those spot repairs on the sewer. So again, you'll be seeing some activity out there if you drive by, but you know, we don't need to discuss anything unless something comes up.
Yeah, is the water main right in the center of the Elm Street all the way?
It goes from right to left, but yeah, it's generally down the middle of the road. I mean, that's probably one of the widest roads in town, so it's hard not to be in the road, in the middle of the road.
Oh, I'm only asking for a selfish reason, and that I park on it every day, so.
Yeah, it's
Guess I'm gonna have to move.
it's gonna be disruptive somewhat.
All right.
Oh, so it starts after the village, just FYI. So it's after Brook Street, towards the harbor.
Yep.
How long is that it's scheduled to last?
30
days?
I think they have 8 weeks, but I think they're anticipating 4 weeks.
Okay.
But we'll get a schedule shortly.
All right. Yeah, if you could send that to us, that'd be good.
Sure.
All right. Well, I gotta jump off in 3 minutes.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All Pierce, aye.
Yep, Bill McGowan, aye.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Have a good day.
Likewise. See ya.